Right, we're now over to the public forum for questions. If we can see a show of hands.
Yeah, well, so I've got a bit of a preamble before I get to my question. Right, basically 2 months ago, the Alliance for Outrage declared a climate crisis, climate emergency. So first and foremost, the question will be, where does the authority come from to declare a climate crisis? Whenever we ask difficult questions, all we get is we're allowed to look after allotments, look after toilets and so on. But we've now stepped into the realms of a worldwide agenda within the town council. Now, I've been quite active in gathering information from various different councils. Such council said they declared their climate crisis on the back of Extinction Rebellion putting under pressure. West Suffolk Council have said that they declared their climate crisis and they are following the advice from the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Plan, on climate change. I can't remember the anyway, so now that panel, the IPCC, haven't actually declared the climate crisis themselves. Okay, now nor our government. Our government haven't actually declared anything, and yet the town council is. Now, I did an FOI and said, after your declaration, can you please give me the evidence to back your climate emergency claim? And all I got back as a reply was, we are following the advice from Friends of the Earth. Okay? So, my response to that was, I think you misunderstood my question. Can you please give me data, evidence, facts, information to back your claim? The reply to that was, your questions are deemed as vexatious and we will not be responding to you again. Which was exactly what I expected. So I was really actually pleased with that because it shows me that you guys, every single one of you, put your hand up to back the climate emergency and not one of you have actually looked into the problem in depth. And I can run through some of the in depth. This whole thing started with the Colour Run in 1972. It was set up in 1968 as an offshoot of the Commitment 300. Now, they wrote publications around that time, and in one of those publications, Roots of Growth, they said that they needed a common cause for mankind to get behind, whether it be manufactured or for real. And that common cause would be humanity, right? Humans would become the problem on Earth. And I actually wrote that and documented that. Okay? Now this was all launched at the Real Earth Summit in 1991. Okay? Now Alan Ball had a great speech, and during that speech he said there's a definite correlation between CO2 and warming. He said there's a definite correlation between CO2 and warming. Okay? And then he's still on stage and went, oh, it's all a bit complicated, and we won't go into that. The bit that he forgot to tell people about was that the CO2 comes after the warming. And we know that from empirical data from a guy called Jörgen Peder-Stephenson. Now he went into ice core samples, measured it to 1,000th of a degree over 120,000 years. Okay, so he's actually got the data there. To back him, we have Patrick Moore, who said the whole thing is a scam. We've also got Dr. Judith Curry, climate scientist who said that she was found that she was living in an echo chamber of fear until she started studying outside the box a little bit. And then she came up and said the whole thing is a scam. There's also Jim Telford board. There's 2,000 scientists on there that say it's a scam. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware, and you might have seen it on some videos, but the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere at the moment is 0.04%. Okay, now if that drops to 0.02%, which will be your absolute zero that you're looking for, plant life ceases to live. Okay, now we live in a farming sort of community area, market town area. The greenhouses around here pump CO2 into their greenhouses to make plants grow. If the plants stop growing, where does your oxygen come from? I don't think you have any idea of the tracks that you are heading down with good intention, because you haven't looked into it in depth enough. Okay? The way I see it is that you are now running into the station off the back of NGOs, Friends of the Earth, the IPCC, Extension Rebellion. You're running down the track, you're heading into the station, and at some point you're going to go through the barriers at the end. And you're going to take you and your families and your kids and your grandchildren with you. And just to finish it off, on Saturday I was out handing out leaflets to let people know this meeting was going to go on. Alright? And I got into discussion with a few people. Now what I find really, really disgusting is that you're going to take 20 grand from the people of Thetford to put toward this climate thing. Okay? I was hearing on Saturday, there's people in this town who can't afford to feed their kids, and you're taking 20 grand. Disgusting.
I don't think so.
Well done, Bob.
Anyone councillors wish to comment on the
Lie, mate, emergency.
So my question was, can you give me the evidence?
I'm trying to respond.
So my question at the end was, can you give me the evidence?
Well, let the man answer the question.
Thanks for getting to the question at the end there. I didn't give up this because you know what I can't. So I would say to everyone that almost all scientists from multiple disciplines agree that man-made climate change is having a real impact on people's lives.
He didn't listen.
Through the technology, you mean? The man-made in technology?
You've asked, I gave you the time to ask your question. Surely you've got the decency to have a response. Even if you don't agree with the response.
Can you let him respond so that I can respond back?
Come on, Purple Rain, get it in gig.
If you do not wish for the gentleman to continue, I'm quite happy to move on to the next question. But we are trying to answer the question that has been put forward. Just give us a chance. That's what James.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as I can go on to say, everyone from the National Health Service to the National Farmers Union has developed a net zero strategy. This town council voted unanimously to support declaring a climate emergency so we can try and take some small steps to the global problem and provide diversity in green areas to residents of Thetford, which I think is a good thing. I think those councillors do as well, and I think that should be our response personally.
Who funds all this?
Yeah.
Who funds all
Respond
this?
to that.
Well, I'm loath to let you pour it 10 minutes in.
Well, all I wanted to say, add to that, is the IPCC run everything off of modelling and hypothesis. Where is this guy's empirical data?
So,
Independently.
we as a council have made a decision, and that decision was made in open forum, and the information that was used to make that.
Where is your evidence?
So,
No
I'm not going to get into
no crisis, end of story.
All right, if there's no crisis.
How can you give 100-year predictions when you couldn't even predict 20 years ago for now, when you had the chance to sort this so-called out? How can we take you serious?
We're not stupid.
How can you give 100-year predictions if you can't fucking predict 20 years ago?
What we're seeing here is a panel of useless idiots. Leading to the Second World War, it was the same method. They got the lower end authorities to implement policy before the Big Bang, and here we go again.
Next question, ladies.
I just want to say to you that you do have to do your own independent research. There is evidence that people have been brainwashed now for many years For instance, do you know that there is an organisation called Clintel, CLINTEL.org? This institution has nearly 2,000 world-renowned scientists that have signed a declaration saying that there is no climate emergency.
Correct.
And they refer directly to what this gentleman has said about the IPCC. The IPCC is an NGO, and they have done climate change alarmism by actually modelling, and they're not using scientific data. So the whole thing is a fraud. But you actually have to look at why there is a fraud going on. And this will eventually all be tied, this climate change fraud will stop you from travelling. It will be all linked to your carbon footprint.
Exactly.
You will all be given a carbon footprint allowance, and that will be tied to your central bank digital currency. This whole thing is a massive plan. And if you don't do some simple research, and I can send you lots of links, you are actually walking us all into a trap that we will never get out of. I did a presentation yesterday to a school in Sudbury, and the kids there, the 16-year-old politics students, had got no idea what's going on. For me, at my age, I can have a very nice life, thank you very much, for the rest of my day, sitting on a beach and drinking wine. The reason I will not do that is I am not going to allow this. I am not going to allow central bank digital currency, and I am not going to allow the perpetual lie of climate change. There is no climate change caused by humans. It is a natural process, and it's all to do with the solar, and the data shows that the world, it warms and then it cools. But you need to look at independent research and not be spoon-fed complete rubbish from our government.
We've made it to 15 minutes, but Mr. Taylor, I'm happy to take your question, and then
I'm coming in after that.
Well, I'm chairing the meeting.
I'm a funder to all of this. I'm coming in after that.
Well,
all right?
You've made...
Yeah, I am.
Mr. Taylor, would you like to ask your question?
Well, you as a council and a councillor, you've got to start doing your job. That was all the belong you just for. Question there, 0.04% in the atmosphere now. Did you know that? Do you know that it's 0.02? He said the plants die. That means you don't get oxygen. You didn't answer that. That puts you in the firing line. You will be going on notice for the lack of depth of your knowledge. This council, majority Labour, have declared a climate crisis. Listen, you walk around, you drive around this town, we've got potholes everywhere, there's a crisis. We've got people dealing drugs, we've got vandalism, we've got anti-social behaviour, there's a crisis. The rubbish everywhere, there's a crisis. You can town council, you're not the UN. Declare the climate crisis and start claiming a crisis on the things that matter this town. Because it's obvious to anybody here who's done a little bit of revision that you lot have not got a clue and you're following orders from the top. Unfortunately, you're in the driving seat today.
Yeah.
Now, the last thing I want to say, excess debts have gone through the roof. You cannot run much longer. The last council was put on notice. You as a council reference Liz Truss, I put you all on notice. You will all be in the seat when the chopping block comes down. The next bit of notice you will all go on for is for the lacking figures you've got on a climate crisis. Once it starts to become detrimental to the people of Thetford, we will hold you as a council accountable. Stand by the next meeting for your notices to be handed out. Thank you.
I'll be dropping in on the war on children.
That marks the end of the public forum.
At the end of November, you was all recorded blanking the questions on the war on children, with the contraception is in, for kids on the shelves in supermarkets, that if it weren't for us and sitting there in silence like you, they'll still be on the shelves. Marketing of paedophilia, very relevant in the libraries and Waterstones. And as Mr. Jeremy walked out, he blanked the question on does he see fit the same mindset as Cliff Waterman over at West Suffolk? This is the Labour leader, and that's our Labour leader, so I thought I'd ask him. Cliff Waterman sees fit a 4-year-old child to be dropped off at school to be taught bedroom department activities. Not hearsay, we've got it recorded. Now what's your answer, pal?
Phil.
What's your answer? Come on! Come on!
They're everywhere.
You're going to answer?
Yeah, let him speak.
Ask the question, so Councillor Jeremy is going to make a response, so if you want to hear the answer, will you give it?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Apologies for being late. As some of you know, my dental appointment was before over an hour late, so it took me a while to get back from there this evening, because I've been here at the start. Thank you for the question. Sex education is not something that falls within the powers in my role as a councillor. It's not something to...
It's a bit like the climate emergency.
If you allow me to respond, I will give you an answer. Do not interrupt. Sex education is not something that falls within my powers as a councillor. It's not something that is discussed at any meetings I attend, and it is not something that I can influence.
Do you want an answer or not?
No, not if he's going to answer like that.
What is the
point of him answering that?
However, you have asked a question, and I am happy to give my own personal view, my own personal view, which I do not believe what you have described is appropriate. Generally speaking, I think children are exposed to inappropriate material at a much younger age now, particularly with the internet and social media, which is not regulated properly. In relation to schools, which I think is the point that you were making, I believe parents still have a right, with whatever age the child is, to request that their child does not take part in certain topics, such as sex education. That is an element of personal choice and something that I do support.
What about Waterstones?
We have no jurisdiction over Waterstones.
What about our libraries, that the same books from Waterstones are in there? A granddad in bondage gear for 0 to 4-year-olds. Is that acceptable? Do you have the same mindset as Cliff Waterman, the Labour leader, over the road?
I've called the end of the public forum.
What exactly do you do? Just out of interest. You know, I'm just wondering.
Because you can't answer what a woman is, can you?
So this question, no response. I'm calling the end of the public forum.
Because I think we should all stop paying the wages, to be perfectly honest. You're not worth anything, really, are you?
Stuart, do any of you care? Really? Do any of you care?
I'm calling the end of the public forum.
Enough is enough. You work for the people. If you don't do your job, you get
I mean, at the end of the day, it's pointless you fucking being here, isn't it, at the end of the day? Do you actually write anything down, go back, research it, and then come back to us with anything? We fund all of this.
So, we've asked that it's the end of the public forum. We're now going to move to the full council meeting.